Antonio, it's great to see you again. I think we're gonna do this one in Spanish for our audience. Just
We can
kidding.
repeat it in Spanish for sure.
We can repeat it in Spanish. Antonio, it's very good to see you. You are a partner go-to-market leader in the tech industry, so I'm very happy to get some time from your calendar. And why don't we go straight to it and you let us know a little bit about your journey about working with partners. How did it happen? How did you start and what are you doing nowadays?
Good question. And first of all, thanks for having me, Rick. Always great talking to you. Always great talking to somebody that's incredibly talented, but also like knowledgeable. So how did I dive into this? I don't think there's a single partner leader or partner pro out there that said, I'm gonna be a partner pro when I grow up, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to college for that. No, we all ended up here from one way or another, different paths. But for me, I'm a telecom engineer. I worked in
mhm,
telecom for many years, not doing anything with partnerships. And many years ago, I came to the US to get my MBA. And out of business school, IBM hired me and threw me into the world of partnerships. And so it was IBM where it was at IBM where I got my
mhm.
chops in partnerships, managing humongous networks of VARs, distributors, solution providers, support providers, then dabbling into tech partnerships and marketplaces in like the early days of all that when tech partnerships didn't even have a name of tech
Yeah.
partnerships.
Mhm.
Um, and at this point, I've been doing it for over 15 years, right? In different companies, spent 10 years at IBM, worked in another company called Megaport, then another company called Tricentis, and now I just joined a company called LogicMonitor, where I
Mhm.
am the senior director of Partner RevOps. And what I do is I own strategy, I own operations, and I own programs for our global partnerships.
Awesome. So from an IBMer, right, to now senior director of channel RevOps. So
Channel
that's
RevOps, correct? Yeah.
channel
Mm-hmm.
RevOps. Very cool, very cool. I want to focus on the operations side of your
Mm-hmm.
career because I know you have a lot of experience, especially when it comes to data.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you about what are some of the key metrics that you typically measure when it comes to partner organizations? I mean, everybody measures revenue, but besides
Mm-hmm.
revenue, putting revenue to the side, what are your, I don't know, what are your favorite metrics to measure when it comes to determining the health of the partner business?
I think it depends on who you're talking with, right? It's a loaded question because I think you have to look at it from different angles. The
Hmm.
most important thing is that you have to start from each company is going to be a little different, right? But you have to start from what matters to your organization as a whole, right? What matters to your CEO and board if there's board and so on and so forth. And that normally is going to be things like EBITDA, NRR, GRR, um, revenue, growth, rule of 40, those kind of things. And then you can start making your way down, right? How do you
Yeah.
get to impact those things? So if you're talking to sales, obviously things like pipe gen,
Mhm.
bookings slash revenue, pipe progression, and things like that, pipe velocity are the things that matter. And those are really key things if you want to get buy-in from sales, right? So if you're going into a conversation with sales, with an AE or with an FLM or with a higher up, the key things that are going to matter to them are how are they measured and how can you impact those metrics, right? And that is normally
Yeah.
going to be deal sizes, that is normally going to be close rates, win rates, that is normally going to be pipe progression and deal velocity, and then and a few other things, right? So those are some of the key elements that you should have out of your pocket whenever you're
Yeah.
building champions and doing those kind of things. Now, on the flip side, if you're working with other teams like marketing, marketing is going to care a little bit about other things like qualified leads. They're going to care about ROI on certain events. They're gonna or certain things, and they're gonna care about some things like CAC, right? Some
Hmm.
of these metrics tend to sometimes, especially like CAC and LTV, tend to be a little bit more guarded and behind some like corporate firewalls. But if you can get to those and be able to tie into how certain partnerships or how your efforts are driving down CAC, are increasing ROI, are making LTV better, et cetera. That
Hmm.
helps you a lot in those conversations. Why? Because whenever you get into the conversation of like, hey, we're building a partner program and we're thinking about XYZ incentives and all of that. And the first thing that you're gonna be told is like, we're giving too much margin, right? Or the
Yeah.
typical conversation about compensation, which is like the double bubble, the triple
Hmm.
bubble, or those kind of things. And one of the things that the leaders tend to ignore is the CAC side. It's like, yeah, maybe we have a double bubble, maybe we are paying a little bit more incentive for this kind of
Yeah.
partnership and so on and so forth. But the reality is that our CAC is halved, or they're
Right.
taking the brunt of a lot of other things, right? And what that means is
Yeah.
that your LTV is faster, or well, your LTV might increase because now you have a partner in the mix, right? One
Hmm.
one that I love that it's really hard to come by, and I normally have to fight for it, is payback period. I normally like to make sure that sales teams and partner teams understand payback periods. Why? Because it's important to know how long you have to retain a customer in order for that customer to actually become profitable and not be
Hmm.
cost. Because many times you have teams um, celebrating big deals that maybe are signed for a year. And then guess
Yeah.
what? That customer churns after a year. And even though it was a huge deal, that partner never got to profitability. And
Yeah.
it just was cost for the company, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very important to understand CAC, but also to understand payback periods so that sellers understand that the deal cycle doesn't end just at the beginning. You need to make sure that you stay with that customer
Hmm.
and that you have that life cycle with that customer so that they don't churn.
Yeah.
In order to have that profitable, that ROI and that profitable kind of customer, right? And so I know
Yeah.
that that was a loaded question. That was a lot. So maybe that gave you a
No,
little bit of a snippet.
no, that's very good. And yeah, I haven't thought about payback period in a long time, but you just reminded me that on the importance of that because partners a lot of times they're they're investing upfront, right? And they're hoping to make some money after a certain period of time. But to your point, nowadays I think churn of customers, because of the subscription model or whatever it is, the licensing, it can happen sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, well, some partners are gonna be in the red zone. So yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
be aware of that.
and you hit the nail on the head on something around partnerships, which is one element that a lot of partner programs miss. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying all of them. There's a lot of really good programs out there, but it's life cycle. A lot of partner programs focus on the beginning and on the new
Hmm.
business, and they forget the retention
Yeah.
side, the churn side,
Yeah.
the life cycle side, right? And if you don't understand these things like CAC and LTV and profitability and the payback periods and all of that, um, yeah, you might be having partners that bring you a lot of
Hmm.
business, but it's business that churns real fast. And
Yeah.
that's just cost, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, retention metrics is definitely for me one of my favorites. But to your point at the very beginning, it has to be aligned to the company's goal in terms of retention, right? Because you can
Mhm.
measure it in different ways, right?
Yeah,
NRR,
yeah.
customer dollar retentions, whatever, but definitely a retention metric must be there. Awesome.
Yeah, and I
Um,
forgot to talk about those, but retention is critically important, right?
yeah. What is our research about that?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
arguably one of the most important metrics for corporations these days is NRR or
yeah.
GRR, right? That's the one that
Hmm.
mostly rules them all, and retention
Yeah.
is a critical part of it. It's not
Yeah.
only new
Exactly.
business, it's great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you something perhaps a little bit more philosophical in this case, which is the
Mhm,
concept of predictive analytics. I
mhm.
have I've heard you in the past talk about this. So, in simple terms, what is predictive analytics, and what's the value of leveraging or thinking about predictive analytics in the partnership business?
So predictive analytics is basically what it's going to allow you to understand what to do and make better decisions, right? But all that is based on accurate data, clean data, and
Mm,
especially historical data, right? Because once you add robust analytics into it and AI and, machine learning and all that, that's when with the right amount of data, with the right signals, with the right metrics, you're able to predict or try to predict if something is going to work or not. And this is in
mhm,
the sense of being able to tell if going into a partnership, this is the right partner that you want to
mhm,
work with, or doing territory planning and
mhm.
hiring partner managers and doing those kind of things, coverage models, right?
Yeah.
Understanding depending on what kind of partners, how many partners, what kind of territory, et cetera, a partner manager has or is in, if they're going to be successful or not based on
Mhm.
what you've gathered, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, this factor is significantly in forecasting, right? Based on your historicals, based on the nature of your deals, based on who is involved in the deal from an AE or a partner manager or even a partner perspective. What are their close rates, et cetera, et cetera. If the deal is progressing in a certain way through different straight stages, you can
Mhm.
predict if it's going to close or not in a better way. And so it's it's basically I don't want to call it an art, but maybe it's an art of understanding what are the buttons to push and the levers to pull
Yeah.
based on your metrics, your data, your historicals, all of what's in front of you to make the right decisions, right?
Yeah. It's in my experience, it's a little difficult to nail it down. And I think you also hit it on a specific, a very important point, which is you need to have the data. You need to have good, clean data, which just that by itself can be very challenging. I've seen it too many times.
That's challenging. Data hygiene is I don't believe I've ever seen a company that has said like,
Yeah,
oh, we have data hygiene sorted out. It's like nobody.
nobody has that. Yeah.
Everybody has different levels of data hygiene problems.
Hmm.
Historicals can tend to be messy, especially as companies mature and companies evolve. You tend to change the way things are done, right? And so
Hmm.
with that comes the problem of trying to compare year over years or quarter over quarters and things like
Yeah.
that. Because guess what? Maybe 2 years or 3 years ago, you were doing things differently. And
Hmm.
you cannot do an apples to apples comparison at this point. It's more of a
Yeah.
nuanced apples to oranges, where this orange is kind of like an apple orange. And now what we're doing right now, we're considering an apple,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's not easy, it gets tricky. And but the better you get and the more robust you get to it, the better you can try to do these things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely data hygiene. Everybody wants it, but like to your point, I don't know if anybody really has that. There's always something else you can do with that data. So,
Hmm.
Antonio, let me ask you one more quick question, and this is a spicy one because it's always top of mind, I think, for many. It's about revenue attribution. So,
Okay.
your definition, what's your definition for partner source versus partner influence? How do you define that?
This might make me some enemies out there. But one of the things that I've
Yeah.
learned in my career is that you need to take as much gray out of the equation. You need to have
Mm,
things as black and white as you can. I think influence in itself has many tones of gray, but I think you can make a case that sourced and influence should be black and white, meaning sourced is hype and revenue that your partners brought, period. Did
mhm,
your partner bring the opportunity to you? It's not about you involving the partner into an opportunity that you discovered another way through inbound, outbound, etc. And then the partner drives it. No. That is what I would consider like influenced. But if the partner brought me a net new opportunity that I had zero idea about, that there was nothing in our pipe, marketing had not found it, sales had not found it, et cetera, like that is partner source, right?
Yeah.
There can be a little bit of different tones of partner source depending on if your attribution model is mature enough where the partner sourced the opportunity, but it ended up coming through an event or things like that. Like that's where you're getting into like a little bit of a grayer area between source, but ultimately you should be able to know if the partner brought the opportunity or not, period, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is influence. And then the levels of influence are wide, like that's gonna vary wildly between by how you define how a partner is involved in the sense of like RFPs, POVs, or POCs, depending on your company, access to executives, intros, intel, et cetera, like the tone, like the tones of gray within influence, that's a whole different situation, right? But I think sourced and influenced should be cut dry, as black and white as possible. Between like the partner brought the opportunity, source. The partner didn't bring the opportunity. We involved the partner, or the partner came in a certain other way. That's influence, right?
Yeah. So the first step is trying to figure out if it's sourced or not, which should be easier, right? If it is, it's sourced, right? If the partner brought the opportunity, it's sourced. Everything else, influence. But do not forget that with everything else, like you said, there's different shades of gray, right? Because different levels of influence in the opportunity. Awesome. Antonio, thank you very much. Appreciate your time a lot. One more time, it's great talking to you. And hopefully I'll see you again. I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rick. This was fun. Yeah, I'm here always. And if you ever want to chat more, I'm always here to chat with great, talented, and knowledgeable folks like you, man.
Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See ya.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Bye.